You sent the message, you watched it get delivered, you watched it get read, and then nothing. No reply, no acknowledgement, just silence. And here's the thing nobody talks about. It wasn't the silence that hurt. It was what the silence said. You're not worth a response. Maybe it was a friend who used to call you every week. Maybe it was someone at work who walks right past you like you're furniture. Maybe it was a family member who only shows up when they need something. Whatever the situation, that feeling is specific. It has a texture to it. It sits right in the middle of your chest. And most people, when they feel it, do one of two things. They either explode, send the angry follow-up, make the passive-aggressive comment, force themselves back into the room, or they collapse inward, start questioning their own worth, replaying every interaction, wondering what they did wrong. Both of those responses feel natural. Both of them make sense. And both of them hand that person everything. In this video, I want to show you something different. Not revenge, not manipulation, not playing games. I want to show you what the Stoics understood about being dismissed, and why the people who truly mastered this philosophy didn't just survive being ignored, they became untouchable because of it. Stay with me here, because this isn't going to be what you expect. Most content about being ignored goes one of two directions. Either it tells you to just not care, which is useless advice if you've ever actually tried it, or it turns into a revenge fantasy, telling you to glow up and show them what they're missing. That's not what this is. What I want to explore with you today goes much deeper than that, because the Stoics, these ancient philosophers who built some of the most psychologically advanced frameworks in human history, they weren't just dealing with being left on red. They were dealing with exile, with public humiliation, with war, with betrayal by people they loved. And what they discovered about human dignity under those conditions, it changes how you see yourself. If you're new here, welcome. This channel uses Stoicism as a practical tool, not as a history lesson, not as a collection of quotes to put on a poster, as something you can actually use today. Subscribe if that's what you're looking for, because we go deep here. Now let's get into it. Let me tell you about a man named James. James had been with the same company for 11 years. He was competent, reliable, and, by his own admission, someone who prided himself on never making waves. He showed up early. He solved problems quietly. He made other people look good. And then a new team lead came in, younger, louder, full of energy and new ideas. And slowly, without any dramatic confrontation, James started to disappear from the conversation. Emails he sent went unanswered for days. In meetings, his suggestions were either ignored or, worse, echoed back by someone else 5 minutes later to a round of nods and enthusiasm. He wasn't fired. He wasn't demoted. He was just faded out. James told me, "It would have been easier if they yelled at me." And I think that's exactly right. Because outright rejection, as painful as it is, at least gives you something to respond to. It's clear, it's defined, you know where you stand. But being ignored is different. Being ignored operates in a gray zone. It gives you nothing to push back against. It just slowly erodes your sense of reality. You start wondering, am I being oversensitive? Am I reading into this? Maybe I'm the problem. Here's the psychological reality of what's happening in those moments. When you are dismissed or ignored by someone whose opinion you care about, your brain registers it the same way it registers physical pain. This isn't metaphor. There's neurological research on this. Social exclusion activates the same neural pathways as a physical injury, which means when someone ignores you and you feel like it hurts, you're not being dramatic. You're being accurate. The brain evolved that way for a reason. For most of human history, being cast out from the group meant death. So the brain developed a very aggressive alarm system around social rejection. It was a survival mechanism. The problem is that the alarm system didn't evolve to be proportionate. It doesn't know the difference between being exiled from a tribe and being left on red by a co-worker. It just fires. And when that alarm fires, it floods your system with a very specific cocktail: cortisol, a spike of adrenaline, and a sharp narrowing of your mental focus entirely onto the threat. That's why being ignored can ruin your whole day. Not because you're weak, because you're human. But here's what almost nobody tells you next. The alarm goes off. Okay, that's automatic. That's not the problem. The problem is what you do while the alarm is going off. Because most people in that activated state make decisions. They fire off the message. They make the comment. They obsess for hours. They build entire narratives about what that person thinks of them, what it means about their worth, what they need to do to fix it. And every single one of those responses has the same thing in common. They make the other person the author of your inner world. The Stoics had a word for what's happening in that moment. They called it a passion, not in the romantic sense, but in the old sense of the word. Something that happens to you, something that sweeps through you from the outside. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and spent years of his life being literally owned by another human being. He wrote about this with a clarity that still hits hard thousands of years later. He said essentially, most of what causes human suffering is not what happens to us. It's the judgment we attach to what happens. Now, I know you've probably heard some version of this before, and I know how it can land. It can sound like someone telling you it's all in your head, which feels dismissive. So let me be precise about what he actually meant. Epictetus wasn't saying your pain isn't real. He wasn't saying the person who ignored you is fine and you should be grateful. He was making a structural observation about where your suffering lives. Here's the analogy. Imagine your mind is a harbor. Ships come in and out. You don't control which ships approach. Weather, trade winds, the decisions of captains far away determine that. What you do control is whether you let them dock. When someone ignores you, a ship has appeared on the horizon. That's real. You didn't imagine it. The ship is there. But the moment you decide what that ship means, I must be worthless. I need to fix this. They're going to keep doing this. You've let that ship dock. You've invited it in. You've given it space in your harbor, and now your harbor is occupied. The Stoic practice isn't about pretending the ship doesn't exist. It's about learning to stand at the edge of the water and say, I see you, and I'm deciding whether to let you in. This sounds abstract. Let me make it concrete. When you feel that sting of being ignored, your brain offers you an interpretation instantly, automatically. Usually something like, this means something bad about me. The Stoic move, the actual practice, is to pause in that gap and ask, is this interpretation true? Is this interpretation useful? Or am I handing this person the controls to my inner life? Not, am I overreacting? That's just another form of self-criticism. The question is, who is currently writing the story I'm telling myself? Because here's what the Stoics understood that modern psychology is only now catching up to. You are always telling yourself a story. About yourself, about others, about what things mean. And in any given moment, either you are the author of that story or you've handed the pen to someone else. When you feel destroyed by being ignored, you have handed the pen to someone who didn't even ask for it. Someone who may not even know they have it. Here's a question I want you to sit with. Why does being ignored hurt more when it comes from certain people? Think about it. If a stranger on the street didn't acknowledge you, you wouldn't give it a second thought. But one cold shoulder from someone specific, and you're replaying it for days. The answer is investment. The more you've invested in someone's opinion of you, the more you've built your self-image around how they see you, the more power that person has over your emotional state. And look, investment isn't wrong. Caring about people you love is not a flaw. But the Stoics drew a very important line here. There's a difference between caring about someone and depending on someone's response to know your own worth. One is connection. The other is a vulnerability. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who had more power than almost any human in history, and who still managed to spend his private journals wrestling with anxiety, frustration, and the behavior of people around him, wrote this: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing that for us. He was writing it for himself, because he struggled with this too. And what he kept coming back to, in journal entry after journal entry, was this idea: the opinions of others are outside events, not meaningless, not irrelevant, but outside. They belong to the other person. They are products of the other person's history, their fears, their needs, their mood on a Tuesday afternoon. They cannot be. The measure of who you are is where it gets uncomfortable. When someone ignores you and you spend days in anguish over it, what you're actually doing is treating another person's behavior as more authoritative about your worth than your own lived experience. You're saying, in effect, their silence is more real than everything I know about myself. Why? Why is their silence the data point you choose to build your self-image around? I'm not asking that harshly. I'm asking it genuinely. Because most people, when they really sit with that question, realize they don't have a good answer. The silence feels significant because we've been trained to treat external validation as the primary currency of self-worth from childhood. We learned early that when the right people respond to us, we are good. When they don't, we question ourselves. The Stoics are asking you to examine that training, not to become emotionally cold, not to stop caring about people, but to locate your worth in a place that no one else can reach. Okay, let's get specific, because understanding the philosophy is one thing, living it is another. And I think one of the reasons people give up on Stoicism is that it stays abstract for too long. So here are 4 concrete practices, not platitudes, actual things you can do, rooted in Stoic philosophy, for when you're facing dismissal or being ignored. The first one, stop auditing your worth based on their response. This is the foundational move. Everything else builds on it. Every time you catch yourself checking to see if they've replied, every time you reread an old conversation looking for clues, every time you ask a mutual friend if they said something, you are conducting an audit. And you are outsourcing that audit to someone else. The Stoic practice here is to redirect the audit. Instead of asking, what does their behavior say about me? Ask, what does my response to their behavior say about me? Because that's where your actual character lives, not in whether they reply, in how you carry yourself when they don't. James, the man I mentioned earlier, eventually stopped sending emails that no one answered. Not out of defeat, out of a decision. He redirected his energy into his own work, his own skills, his own presence. He stopped auditing his worth through the lens of people who had decided not to see him. And what happened? His work got sharper, his confidence became quieter and more solid. People outside that immediate environment started to notice. He didn't win by forcing recognition. He won by no longer needing it from that specific source. The second practice, respond to dismissal with quality, not volume. This is the one that requires real discipline. The instinct when you're being ignored is to increase your presence, to talk more, do more, explain more, justify more, to make yourself impossible to overlook. But think about what that communicates. At a visceral, unspoken level, it communicates. Your attention is something I desperately need. The Stoic alternative is to respond with less, but better. If you're being ignored in a professional setting, produce excellent work. Quietly, without announcement. Let the work be present even when you aren't pushing it. If you're being dismissed in a personal relationship, be genuinely present in the moments you do have access to without performing or over-explaining. And in the moments you don't, invest that energy somewhere else, into a project, into a friendship that is reciprocal, into yourself. This isn't passive. This is one of the most active things you can do. You are taking the energy that would have gone into pursuing someone else's approval, and you are building with it. The third practice: examine the attachment, not the person. This is the hardest one. When someone ignores us, we almost always focus outward. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What do I need to do to change it? The Stoic turn is inward. Why does this specific person's approval matter so much to you? Not in a critical way, as a genuine inquiry. Sometimes the answer is simple. They're your boss, and their approval has practical consequences. Okay, that's real. But even then, there's a difference between "I need to understand their expectations" and "my worth depends on whether they smile at me in the hallway." Sometimes the answer runs deeper. They remind you of a parent who was emotionally distant. They represent a version of success or belonging that you've been chasing for a long time. They're part of a group whose acceptance you've wanted since you were young. These are worth knowing, not to analyze yourself into paralysis, but because once you can see the root of the attachment, you have more agency over it. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, and also, for a long period, subject to the whims of a paranoid emperor who could have had him killed on a mood, wrote about this constantly. He said that the man who has examined his attachments is free in a way that nothing external can touch. He wasn't talking about becoming a monk. He was talking about knowing why you want what you want. Because once you know why, you can decide whether it's actually yours to want, or whether it was handed to you by someone else's expectations a long time ago. The fourth practice: let the silence be information, not a verdict. This one is subtle but important. When someone consistently ignores you, that silence is actually telling you something real and useful. It's showing you the actual shape of that relationship. Most of us resist that information because accepting it means accepting a loss. But here's what the Stoics would say: reality is always kinder than the illusion we use to avoid it. If someone is not showing up for you consistently over time, the Stoic move is not to force the relationship into a shape it doesn't naturally have. It's to receive the information clearly, without cruelty to yourself or to them, and to act accordingly. That might mean having an honest conversation. It might mean adjusting how much of yourself you invest there. It might mean walking away. None of those options requires you to be bitter. None of them require you to perform indifference or engineer a glow-up for their benefit. They just require you to be honest about what's actually in front of you and to honor yourself enough to act on that honesty. There's something that happens when you practice this for long enough. And I want to be real with you. It doesn't happen overnight. This isn't a hack. This is a slow, quiet reshaping of how you relate to yourself. But what eventually changes is this: you stop needing people to confirm you. Not because you stop caring about people, but because you've built something inside yourself that doesn't require constant external verification to stay standing. The Stoics called this autarkia, self-sufficiency. Not in the sense of not needing anyone. They deeply valued friendship, love, community. But in the sense that your fundamental sense of worth, your anchor, is internal. When your anchor is external, when it lives in how many people reply to you, how many people include you, how many people approve of you, then every silence is a threat. Every dismissal is a potential catastrophe. But when your anchor is internal, when it lives in your values, your effort, your integrity, your genuine relationship with yourself, then silence is just silence. It's data. Sometimes it's even peace. Think about what that would feel like. Someone ignores your message, and you notice it and it stings for a moment, and then you go back to what you were doing, not because you've suppressed anything, but because their response, or absence of response is no longer the thing your stability depends on. That's not coldness, that's not detachment, that's freedom. And here's the part that most people miss entirely. This internal stability, this quiet, unperformable rootedness, is the most compelling thing a human being can project. People can feel when someone doesn't need their validation. There's something in how that person carries themselves. They're not performing confidence. They're not loudly demonstrating how fine they are. They're just grounded, present, not chasing anything. And it's magnetic, not because they're trying to be magnetic, because they're not trying to be anything other than what they are. The irony of the whole thing is that when you stop chasing recognition, recognition often finds you. But by then, you've built something so much more valuable than recognition that it almost doesn't matter. So let me bring it back to where we started. That feeling when someone dismisses you, ignores you, fades you out. That specific, particular ache. You are not weak for feeling it. You are not broken for wanting to be seen. But somewhere between the sting and your response, there is a gap. A small, quiet gap. And in that gap, if you can learn to find it and stand in it even for a second, is the whole of what the Stoics were trying to teach. You are not what people respond to. You are not the sum of the attention you receive. You are what you build in the silence, when no one is watching, when no one is validating, when the only person accountable for who you're becoming is you. James eventually left that company, not in frustration. He left when something better became available, something he'd been quietly preparing himself for during all those months of being overlooked. He told me he was almost grateful for the period of being invisible, because it forced him to build something that didn't need an audience. That's the move. Not revenge, not performance, construction. So here's what I want to ask you. Before you close this video, where in your life right now are you handing the pen to someone else? Whose silence has more power over your inner world than it deserves? You don't have to answer out loud, but sit with it. And if you want to share, drop it in the comments, not because I need the engagement, because writing it down has a way of making it real enough to change. If this landed for you, like the video. It tells the algorithm that this kind of content is worth spreading. And if you want to keep going deeper into this, subscribe. We're not here for motivation, we're here for transformation. Take care of yourself.